Okay, so we've got an issue with rodents in this block. This being the bin store is where the rats are obviously gravitating towards because there's a food source here, but they've obviously then started to penetrate into the individual flats, and we're getting reports of rodents on the top floor, so they're truly kind of taking over the building. So today we tried to establish their main entrance point by doing a drain inspection and then looking at various entrance points where the rodents have breached the building. So obviously we have the bin store here, and when the bins overflow, and like we've got here, we have food rubbish on the floor, this then becomes a great environment where rodents then obviously breed, rapidly get their numbers high, and so what we've got here is a previous problem where they tried to block up an entrance point with concrete, but the rats, because they've been persistent, have just chewed through the concrete. This is a common problem where they don't resolve the issue, they just try and block it with forms of proofing and stuff. Now proofing does work, but when the problem is resolved. This marking we call smearing. It's basically the body grease of a rodent. So they're commonly running along the bins, jumping on this and then going down and out, because the bins would have been against this wall. So there was a drain survey carried out today. This manhole is like the main external sort of sewage line, which is generally owned by the like Thames Water or whoever the company is that does this one, but it then joins along, sorry if you come with us, and then it sort of joins into the lines that the front of the block has. There will be a porcelain pipe that runs along under this pavement, and then individual outlets will distribute the waste from the blocks into the main porcelain line that runs under the pavement. On the survey, we worked out that there is where the yellow marking is, there is a manhole cover that has been buried, which is in line with all of the other manholes. So what tends to happen is the cap potentially is not fastened properly, or there's a breach, so the rats are allowed, and they do run up and down the main lines, but then they're surfacing through there, and then under these pavements they're coming up within the areas here, and obviously what we looked at earlier. So sometimes what you have is where the foundation of the building does not go down fully, you have access into the cavities of the wall. So beyond the brick, I'm able to get my hand under there, and so rodents can clearly come along and go in and go into the inside cavity, and then wherever there's ways out inside the building, they're able to get in. You see this, the white, this is what's inside the cavity of the walls as an insulation. So clearly something has been in there and dug it down. Now if it was a fox, the burrow would be wider, so it obviously suggests a smaller rodent, potentially our rat. So one method to be able to resolve this is by getting like a mesh, obviously placed there, into the ground and up the wall a little bit, but this would need to be done the full length of this section of building, because they'll end up getting round the side of the mesh, so unless the full length's done, it won't be effective. So sometimes a method to control rodents is what's called burrow baiting. It obviously has to be done completely safely, where no other target species can be take the bait at all, but sometimes it's about directly baiting where they are living or nesting. You would put a bait down a hole and then put a cover, as I've put here, to prevent anything from going down. the rodents then will have to consume the rodenticide to come out of the hole, and therefore you're directly baiting the nest and then also controlling the rodent problem.
Over 2 weeks ago, you would have so much rat droppings in there, it was unbelievable. But over the last 2 weeks, you can actually see the difference, because it's getting less and less and less. And today, believe it or not, was the best for rat droppings in there that I've had in a good few months.
Fantastic.
So it does whatever you're doing is working.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So we're now in the flat of the tenant that initially called me and got us involved. She has basically booked herself into a hotel for the last couple of days because she has such a fear of them. She phoned me sort of 9 o'clock in the evening the other day, just in complete tears. I need to be out of here, what's happening? Now, we're obviously doing our best to prevent this from occurring. She's hearing noises in the ceiling because as the rodents run on the plasterboard, it's just really amplifying her fears. You know, this is a common problem. You know, rats ain't nice, and obviously people have real genuine fears about them. So what we have in all flats is like a corner box unit, which is the waste that distributes everybody's waste. We're currently on the top floor of the block. And what happens is that the waste from the toilet, the sinks, the kitchen, the bathroom all come to this central column, and then it goes through all the different flats, and all the waste then does the same thing. Well, rodents from outside have been able to completely climb inside this boxing section, and then they've penetrated up in the loft. So currently we're doing a trapping program up in the loft. Now we could have used bait, but then you have the secondary problem of a dead rodent dying somewhere and we're not able to take it away. So on this specific job, what we're doing is we're using traps, so at least we can remove the bodies. This is more of a scratching sort of program effectively, because we're dealing with it externally. And too often what happens is they try and deal with the problem internally, but do not find the source, like I said earlier on. Okay, so what commonly tenants use or people within the flats are these sticky boards. They're still available for us in the industry, but there's a lot more tighter laws now about them. Reason being is that the rodent doesn't actually die when it first lands. It then struggles, and then obviously it's kind of like a prolonged like death. And on occasions we've seen where rodents have tried to escape or only touched a little bit, and they've literally like gnawed a limb off. So I'm glad that they've stopped the general public using them, and we still need to have now laws for us to use them. We tend to use them on knockdowns, and the way we sort of can use them now is that they need to be scheduled visits, I believe sort of 5 or 6 hours each visit, and then that way we can clearly find if there's a rodent stuck to it, we can dispatch it safely and humanely as possible. But they're still available. People are buying them on the internet and buying them wherever, and it's not the greatest way to control them.